Next up is the final track on Electric Ladyland, Voodoo Chile, Slight Return, one of the most famous songs on the record. This track, according to Jimmy, was recorded live in the studio. It's just a single guitar, bass, and drums, and it's a very pumped up blues type number, all in the key of E, and there's really some incredible guitar playing on the tune. Starts with the signature wah-wah lick, the most famous, well-known melody in the tune, and we're going to start with that into the first round of soloing, everything that comes up before the first verse. Here we go. All right, so as I said, the intro begins with these muted dead string strums. So I'm just lightly resting my fingers on the strings, not pressing them down to the fretboard. And then I'm strumming a combination of 8th notes and 16th notes. So it's starting with 4/16, 4/16, 2/16 and an 8th, 2/16 and an 8th. Second bar. So you can change it, it doesn't matter, and Jimmy didn't do it the same way every time. The unusual thing is bar 3 is just 3 beats. 1, 2, 3, and then he comes in. Comes in with the main lick. So that main lick is based on E minor pentatonic, played in this position. So that's 7th fret of the A, 5th, 7th, 9th on the D, 7, 9 on the G. So we start. 9th fret on the G, and then you hammer 7, 9 on the D, 7 on the G. And that's 5th fret of the D, and it's bent slightly. And this is very subtle. After this note, he pulls off to the 5th fret and then to the open string, and then there's an open A in there. So you hear this. So the second bar of the melody here. So after your vibrato, I'm pulling off to 8 and then to 7. That's 9, 7, 9, 9. And then you repeat it, but it's a tiny bit different. And then a little subtle pull off here. This is bar 4 of the melody. So that's just the 9th fret of the G, 7th fret, bent up a half step. Melody's repeated again with some very slight variations. And then right here at the end of bar 5 of the melody, very quietly you hear open A, hammer to 5th fret, hammer to 7th fret, back to the open A, like that. So that's pull off at the end. Little dead string hit. And then this is the last two times, or the last time that melody is played in those last two bars. So 9, 9, hammer, 7, 9, hammering 5, 7. So that's 9, 7, 9. So this is 10th fret of the B now. Bend up a whole step. And then second time you pick it, second and third time, you pick it while still holding the bend. And that's where the wah goes off, and you just play part of an E chord. And what Jimmy liked to do is he wouldn't play a full E chord like that. Oftentimes he would just play second fret of the D with first fret of the G. And other times he would just have that E, so the A string's muted in both cases, if you're just using the E, or the E with the G sharp. A string's muted, G string's muted, and you can hear that open B string ring all the time. So this chord right here sounds like you're just hearing that open low E, the E here, and the B. So you hit that twice. Up on the open B, and then this is one of the signature licks in the tune, bending that second fret of the G string, A up to B, release the bend, and then pull off. And then you land on second fret of the D for the E note. And while you hold that note, you pick the low E, they ring together. Then he moves up to 12th position. So this is the 14th fret of the G string, bend a whole step. And then you actually catch the D string, bend a half step underneath your finger. It's very subtle. And then you go back to that pre-bent G string, release, back to 12th fret. So here in bar 16, and on beat 4 there, where you bend that note, you step on the wah at the same time. Start rocking the toggle switch back and forth. End up on your bridge pickup. And here in bar 19 is a great Hendrix lick. It's a little difficult to play. So we're bending up 15th fret of the B string. So you bend that note, fretted the 12th fret of the high E. So you're alternating between the two. And then you bend 14th fret of the G. And then here. And that's what's a little tricky to do quickly. To do that bend, and then that pull off, 15, 12 on the B string. So then you're going to bend, release, and pull off again on the G string, 14th fret, land on 14th fret of the D, and then 12th fret of the G, hammer, and bend, and pick the bend again. And then that bar ends with a pull off, 14, 12 on the G, 14. Then you're back into the rhythm part, and you're playing similar stuff. This is cool here in bar 22 of that intro. You've got bar across the top 2 strings at the 3rd fret. And then at this point, he starts to play what's going to be the melody of the verse. So that's 5th fret, 7th fret on the low E, 5th fret on the D. All right, now let's go over the verse section of Voodoo Chile, Slight Return. And in this section, Jimmy doubles his vocal part on the guitar by playing the melody, and then he intersperses that between playing those same sort of rhythm patterns, that heavy E stuff that you heard on the intro. Here it is. All right, so we're beginning with that melody. Well, I stand up next to one. So this is in 5th position. You're starting 5th fret, 7th fret on the low E string, and then 5th fret, 7th fret on the A string. 5th fret, 7, 7, 5th string, 6th string. Right there in bar 2 is one of those where you hit the low E string and then you quickly hammer with the middle finger 2nd fret of the D, index finger 1st fret of the G, with the A string muted. And then he makes it an E7 by bringing your pinky in 3rd fret of the B string. So that at the end of bar 2 of that verse, and beat 4, you got so a quick bend and release on the G string, and then another one, and then pull off to the open G. And he jumps up and hits a high E, a D note, bend a whole step, and vibrato. Back to the main rhythm part. And that's a little more regimented there. You got one of the rare times Hendrix actually plays the same thing virtually twice in a row. So that's the low E, those 2 notes, back to low E. So on beat 2, you're going to do a pull-off, 3rd fret to open. Do the hammer. And then on beat 4, and repeat that again. Then the melody comes back in again. But now he does it here, an octave higher, instead of down here. He's over here. So this is 3rd fret, 5th fret on the B string, and then a bend. Holds that bend and release, pull off on the high string. And then he leans his finger over to go 5th fret on the B to 5th fret on the high E. And then 2. So those are quick hammer pulls from the 3rd fret to the 5th fret on the high E string. That's Next to a Mountain, he's singing there. Stand up next to a mountain. Chop it down with the edge of my hand. So this is starting on beat 2. 1. That's pulling off 3rd fret open. Bend it up, release, and pull off again. End by bending that 2nd fret of the G string. And right there on bar 9 of the verse, on beat 4, you slide up to the 5th fret on the A string and the 4th fret on the G. So you got that bar is now here in bar 11, he's going to slide back up to that 2-note figure and just strum those 2, 5th fret of the A, 4th fret of the G with the D string muted in between. And he's singing, pick up all the pieces and make an island. And then he's going to move down. So this is like E7. This is like A with a C sharp bass. You got 4th fret of the A string, nothing on the D, 2nd fret of the G. Bar 13. So that was like that other repeated rhythm part. And then he goes to an E7 here. 2, 1, 3 with the pinky. Here's where he sings, 'Cause I'm a voodoo child. That's a C9 chord. And for the first part of the chord, he's just playing, just like he had done with these double stops, just a note on the 5th string and the 3rd string. 3rd fret, 3rd fret, D strings muted in between. But as he strums it, he brings in that 3rd fret on the B string, so it's like a C9 chord. Slides up for D7, but just does the 2 notes, 5th fret, 5th fret. Slides up 7, 5, 7 at the end. And then you're into the first guitar solo. All right, now we're ready for the Voodoo Child Slight Return guitar solo. We're going to do the whole first chunk of soloing before he comes back in with his vocals. This whole solo is played up in 12th position, and the riffs are basically based on E minor pentatonic, maybe a little bit of blues scale, if you hear B flats every once in a while. But for the most part, it's just think of it as minor pentatonic. And then every once in a while, the 6th will be in there, 14th fret of the B string, that's a C sharp. Sometimes the 9th is in there too. The main thing though is that Jimmy's phrasing is very free, and it is very difficult to recreate exactly what he plays. There's a lot of push-pull. He'll start a phrase by playing it slowly, and then he'll speed up and cram in more notes, and there's just this ebb and flow to the lines that's very natural, and it's almost impossible to replicate. Also, he uses the wah-wah pedal really expressively in the solo. The wah-wah pedal is on for most of the solo. He does turn it on and off, and you'll hear that in the solo. Here we go. All right, we start with the wah on, and we bend the 15th fret of the B string up a whole step. And then you pick it again, bent, and release. Bar 2. time. Bend, release, 15th fret. It's a real Hendrixism right here. Bend 14th fret of the G, up whole step, and then hammer, pull, 12-15 on the B. And then a bend, release, pull off on the G. And it's kind of cool how you do the whole thing. You kind of get this rolling, where it's mostly legato with hammers and pulls. And then you pick it bent. So that's bar 3 right there. Okay, so you got one more time. 14th fret of the D, open low E, 14A, 14D. Pull back, 12th fret of the A. Back to the high E, 14th fret of the D. Then the second phrase at the end of bar 4. So your 12th fret of the B, whole step bend up, 15th fret to E. Then the E, 12th fret of the high A, and bend 2 whole steps. So after that 2-step bend, a whole step bend, and then 12, 14, 12 pull-off. Then you got a very weird riff in bar 6. You start. So 3 times he's going to do this hammer pull thing between the 12th fret and the 14th fret. That's C sharp. And then back to the regular. So you bend 15th fret of the B up. That riff we've been playing, plays it a lot of times. 12 on the high E string, 15, 12, bend, release, pull off. Back down to second position, or open position. And then he jumps back up. And then for that note right there, he turns the wah off. So that's 12, 14, 12, 14, 12. Then the wah goes back on for so what's going on here is you're repeatedly going but he starts speeding it up. He starts slow, like straight 16th notes. You got 14th fret of the G, 12th fret of the B, 15th fret of the B, back to 12th fret. So if that's the shape, you start doing it faster. And then as he speeds it up, he gets into this where you're bending that note on the G string between the hammer pulls on the 12 to 15 on the B string. And then he follows that by bending the 2 together and strumming the 2 notes, or bending this string and picking the 2 strings together. Rocking the Y, and then kind of releasing and bending the G string between a half step and a whole step by going. Comes down. You do a slow 2-step bend and bring it back down. That's where the wah goes off. And then this is that final 4 bars of this section. he's just cycling that rhythm part again. With slight permutations. So the best thing to do when working on a song like this is to listen really closely to the recording and listen to each phrase and how freely Jimi plays, and try to, of course, learn the techniques and the fingerings that I've showed you here, and that if you're reading a transcription of it that you can see. But you've really got to use your ear and listen to the way Jimi does these things and the musicality of it, of speeding up and slowing down, and finding ways to make the fingers land on the board so they have all that power, and then use that as a jumping off point to play the song expressively as you see fit. It's, as I said before, these lines are so free and so unusual rhythmically, they're virtually impossible to replicate. But a cool thing to do, guys like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Eric Johnson and other people who emulate Hendrix through their love of his music, they just try to capture the spirit by learning the licks and then expressing them in a different way and finding different ways to do them, but with the same feeling.